in here. What's up, everybody? It's your favorite trip to Coolsville's favorite nerd, and today we are looking at the Toyworld Coolsville, which is their take on jazz. This is on loan to me from T2RX6, co-host with me on SCU, and longtime friend, actually the first friend I met in the community, and he let me take a look at this, and I'm very grateful for the opportunity, and he has a ton of accessories. Let's go ahead and get to them. So, it comes with a different head with a, like, whoa, like what's going on? Bad guys are on the loose. And then a piece of light piping in there. And then you have a swap out piece of light piping for a brighter color. I would have preferred if this was just painted with the metallic as opposed to another light piping option. You know how I feel about that. Don't care for it one bit. Not on a masterpiece figure, mind you, sir. And this is available to you. He comes with a few weapons, including the rocket launcher, which is all black with some red paint on it. They do a good job with this red paint, Toyworld does. I've noticed that about them. And then it comes with the missile, silver coated with the red paint, and it fires. Where's the firing button? Should fire. Maybe it doesn't fire. There it is. Oh, I'm gonna have to find that. This plugs into the shoulder. It can go on either shoulder. There's a little slot right there, and it plugs into that little hook right there, and it can, you know, obviously go on either shoulder. He comes with this number, silver paint on the barrel, and then it looks like white paint to me on the gun itself, and some decent sculpt work. His hands, which are very strange, have a cutout for the peg, which is very, very strange. But it does hold the gun just fine, and if he is holding it, it's not really noticeable at all. And then he comes with his wind-up thing, you know, that he used, that, you know, that thing from that episode accessory, and that's fine as well, and this does spin. In order to utilize that, you tuck the hand in. It has two ports on the back, and then you just plug in these pieces into those ports, and now we can use that. You also get this to fire, or, you know, to use with that kind of thing on his hand, but you have to supply your own string, it seems like, or at least it wasn't included in the box that I received. So if you get the string, cool. If not, kind of lame. And lastly, it comes with his speakers. They are coated in this silver finish for both and have this black plastic inside. And I'm not entirely sure where these are supposed to go, but it seems like they will clip in, but like they stay solid there, but I do feel like I'm putting a little wear and tear on that paint. But I mean, they're solid in there, and I feel like that works. And then lastly, before we get to the figure, the only other kind of gimmick thing we have are the wings. So you can have them tucked down, you know, and the window folded in and more of a clean look, or you can have them up like this, or you can have the window out, whatever you'd like to do. The option is available to you, which is a nice option to have, I think, because some people really like jazz with the wings, you know. Let's talk about the figure. So the head has the blue light piping, which you know I'm not crazy about at all, and then it also has the gray face, which does look good. No extra detailings on the head, but a decent head sculpt. It's on what seems like a ball peg. Yes, it's a ball peg, and then the ball peg is on a hinge, and then the neck is on a hinge. We're gonna talk. This guy has a fiddly nature of stuff kind of flopping around on you. So we're gonna talk about that throughout, but the head neck situation is no exception. So head can go down that far. You know, if you use the hinge, it can go up, and then you get the swivel. So it should work fine for anything you need. Actually, it should. You know, it's effective. You have this flap in the back. You can kind of position this a few places. You know, if it helps. Really nice paint on the car. A really nice finish, and then all of the Tampo paint looks fantastic, both on the chest and on the front of the bumper. We have blue translucent here. That looks fine. And then we have all of the, you know, sponsors and stuff. All that stuff looks great. The red paint across the chest looks fantastic. Silver paint inside the abdomen. That all looks great. Yellow and blue and red details. All looks amazing. Waist swivel, that works fine. If you unpeg the chest, you can get a reverse ab crunch, but it is floppy, so it'd be difficult to really use. I'm not sure it's intended to be used, but that is something that is there. It also has a tendency to come unpegged, at least on this one, so be mindful of that as well. It doesn't take much to get it back sorted again, but something worth noting. So we have an interesting kind of situation here for the arms. We have a swivel inside the torso, That gets you all the way around. We have an outer hinge that gets you there, and then we have a lower hinge. Now, if you use both, you can almost get a little bit of a butterfly joint, which is nice. You know, and reverse, which is pretty nice. So no issues there. Bicep swivel that sounds like it was put together at the you-know-who factory. Fans Toys. And then what feels like a double jointed elbow that gets you a great range. It feels like white finish on here as well. That also looks fantastic. The wrist swivel on a really tight joint. The fingers are on a base pin knuckle. And the first two are individually articulated from the second two, which is bizarre. And then the thumb is on a ball peg. So that's fine. And then it has this weird clip here to hold the gun, which is also a little silly. Just not the best. Same for the other side. Let's continue. So there's tons of die cast in this guy, in the legs, the thighs. I feel like this piece up here is as well. He's heavy. The joints aren't friction the best to handle that weight. More squeaky squeaks. You can untab these waist flaps and get them out of your way a bit, which isn't the best once again, but it is an option. And once you do that, it will get you the full Van Damme. If you rotate this piece up, this is one piece like it was on Maketoys Hellfire, so be mindful. Then you can get the full Monty. The problem is, in order to move one leg forward, you have to adjust both at the same time, which is just can be unsightly from time to time. And then in order to get the side, you have to kind of move those things to get the full range. So all that stuff is just a little bit of a bear. The thighs are painted, and they also swivel around the universal for a thigh swivel. Double jointed knee, that gets you a pretty good range, past 90 degrees anyway. We have some silver paint here at the knees, and then the little symbols are painted yellow and red. Silver painted feet, which look great. No, well, I guess you do. You get an ankle tilt. All the kibble kind of adjusts, so that's nice. Ankle tilt down and ankle tilt up, so that's nice. And then this whole piece rocks, so your rocker shouldn't be an issue. So that's nice as well. And you get another swivel just above the knee. Not that you would need it, but it's there. And the back is fairly clean. It's not the cleanest ever, but it's, you know, we've seen worse as well. I think it's okay. A little bit of chunky monkey sitting out on there on the side of the legs, but I think that's all right as well. It's pretty good. It's a pretty good robot action figure. A couple issues, you know, see, that should have been ratcheted. You know, that would have prevented that. There is some weight in this guy, and it needs that. There he is next to the Maketoys. I think that the silver paint here on the feet looks much better than the Maketoys choice there. The rest of it, I think Maketoys kind of gets them, especially with the chrome visor. I prefer that. He's a bigger bot. Toy World has a bigger scale. You're either with that or you're not with that, and that's totally your call. But they're staying consistent to what they want to do, so love it or leave it alone. That's up to you, but they're staying in their wheelhouse. They're also going with a more Studio Ox-inspired design. That's something they've also been doing since the beginning in this line. But yeah, the paint, this guy knocks him out of the park. Action figure-wise, they're comparable. They're really comparable. And stability-wise, this guy's a lot more solid than this guy. He's standing solid right now, but he does have a tendency to come apart a bit. So there's pros and cons to each. They both kind of do the things the other doesn't do, really. With the exception of articulation, they both kind of get that right. And just for a little bit more of a scale idea, it's not insanely out of scale in terms of the Masterpiece line. Alright, so let's get them transformed. Take these pieces here on the bottom of the feet and tuck them in. Take these pieces on the toes and bend them down 90 degrees. And then on this hinge back here, tuck the entire toe around and inside of the foot. Take these flaps here, fold them down. This should start to look a little bit like the G1. Fold them down, and then take the top piece and fold it back around onto itself, which will allow you to rotate the entire rear piece of the car assembly all the way down. Where that reverse ab crunch is, you want to pull that up, pull these up, tuck these in, tuck, this should sit a little bit better, I think. Maybe this one goes down first. Fold that up, and then you can take him, kind of position him like this, fold the head down inside, and then fold that piece over top. Unclip, I already did one on this side, unclip these silver pieces, which will allow you to extend the front of the car, and then fold the hands to the inside. And make sure the fist is lined up on that tight little tolerance. This part's a little tricky. Make sure that the head is tucked in underneath here so that it's showing through in the windshield almost, right? And then you need the arm like this. So we can collapse the forearms for one. And you need to rotate the hinge so that the hinge is out like this. And then you can turn it, let's see, how am I doing this? So you want it like this, and you can bring the forearm down around to the other side. That will allow you to accordion this in a little bit closer, which will allow you to spin the arm inside. As you do that, you want to make sure that this gap meets up with that sort of peg right there. So that's how you want it. So I'll show that again. We want the hinge to go like this. Like this. Normally the arm will be up like this. You just rotate the arm down. That allows the clearance to fold that one more time in on itself and fold this in while wrapping it around that peg. Whew, there it is. It's a little tricky. It's a little bit of a mind screw, but once you got it, you're good to go. Next, at the waist, you want to take these black flaps here, fold them all the way up inside of the body. You got to bring this bar out. I don't know if you can see that or not, but it sits up in one place for robot mode and down in the other. And then this piece swivels up on a ball peg along the top. And I think it sits like this. I'm not sure if it's supposed to be this way. No, it's got to be like this. All right, and then on this side, you want to have this piece up. And then as you can see, hopefully, there's a sliding groove there, and you got to slide this down. And it's a tight little tolerance also. But all of this becomes pretty important here when we try to really get this puppy to stick together. This is where we earn our money. So they're not seats. They're just, I don't know what they are. Doesn't matter. They're not seats though. So these have to sit and make an L basically around the frame, I believe. And it's hard to just get all this stuff out of the way. Now the legs, you want them down like this. So in order to do that, you need to find how to spin it. And since it swivels around both the universal joint and the universal joint swivels at the crotch, it's a little bit of a pain to get, but that's kind of what you want there. And then you need to untab these knees. And basically, this combiner wars up into the shins. And I know I am not making this look pretty, but that's it. The rebels are there. So that's what you're looking for. Let me try to do the other side. If you can see, it's tabbed in there. I'm not sure if you can or not. You untab it. There's another peg right here that you have to rotate that hinge back on, which will allow the frame of the car to be in the right position. And then it's just a matter of, I'll be honest with you, I don't think very highly of this this part of the transformation. But then you need to just collapse all of these sections. And I'm going to have to clean it up a taste before we can move forward. But let's go ahead and get this window out as well. So in the end, you have something like this. You want to make sure that these two bricks here on the hip skirts kind of glide in around Jazz's head, and then you just have to kind of solidify everything and hope for the best. I'm sure there's a better way to do this than what I'm going to do, but I think either way you can kind of get the point. Glide in.
Do you think people watch your reviews to learn how to transform it?
I hope not. And then you just have... There. So that's basically it. Phew! I'll get it cleaned up. We'll take a look at it. And there it is. You know, I could probably get it a little tighter, but it's not really mine, and I can't be mucking about with this thing. These I wish stuck in a bit better. Rolls like a champ. The paint is absolutely gorgeous. It has a very G1 kind of feel, weight in your hand. Like it's almost like it's proportionate from the original Jazz, but I think it's pretty cool. I think it's interesting. I hate the transformation. I think it's a pain, but I think it's pretty cool overall. It fits in the trailer, so you don't have to worry about that. That's a nice little added bonus. And then we'll also show him next to our beloved Tiger Tracks. So anyway, I got Tiger Tracks back, by the way. A decent size, by the way. So last year we said that we were going to throw this guy in the bucket every time we reviewed him and then take a look at how he held up, and he held up just fine. Like this part came undone, but the rest of it held up just fine. Omnigonics didn't survive much, but I didn't notice that the swap was made. If you want the story to that, I think it's on my Howling Meteor review. Anyway, looks pretty good. Final thoughts wise, my negatives really are that the engineering is a bit of a pain to deal with. You know, it's just not a fun transformation. And I'm reviewing this guy after looking at something that was kind of fun, so that probably doesn't help. I think there should have been more ratchets in a lot of the joints to support the weight. This guy is heavy, and it would have been nice to have some hard, clicky ratchets to kind of support all that weight. I think these gaps here in the forearm are a bit unfortunate, and I don't like how those subwoofer accessories or whatever they are seem like they're going to scratch the paint on the back of the spoiler. The back legs are a little kibbly. It doesn't really bother me, but you know, it's there. If it bothers you, then there you have it. But I'll tell you, in pictures it bothered me. In hand, it doesn't really bother me. Final thoughts though, I think it's a pretty cool toy. It has a ton of like playability to it, action figure wise. The car feels good in your hand, has some good weight to it, has tons of paint, articulation out the wazoo. I do recommend it. I'm not sure if I recommend it over the Maketoys. I think it comes down to your aesthetic cues and what you prefer, but it's surprisingly good. I think a lot of people wrote this off, and I think they're wrong. I think that this is a very, very good effort from them. Just a few things that I take issue with, but overall, I think they made a really good figure, and I'm excited to see what they have in the future because I'm going to be looking at that Springer here shortly as well. But I took the Springer out of the box just recently and just really messed around. Don't have a real solid opinion on him yet, but this feels better than that already. So I'm excited to see where they go in the future. I think this is a solid effort. It all depends on what you like visually, whether or not you like the Maketoys one better or this one better, or if you're going to wait for the inevitable Takara one. I'm sure one day will happen. Kind of depends on you. But if you do like Jazz and you're just like a Jazz collector, or if you wanted a Jazz and you kind of like the way this one looked, I do recommend it. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Till next time, take care.